Because I'm making a bit of a salad tonight, we'll take some spinach leaves because they're going to keep growing. So basically we're just going to go around and cut the biggest leaves away. Lovely fresh spinach, can't beat it. The thing about spinach as well is if you cut it and it looks like that, nice and round, that's perfect. If at any point in year you see your spinach leaves starting to go a bit pointy, that's because they've gone past the best and basically they're going to be bitter. So don't leave them that long. We've also got a nice little lettuce here. In fact, that one's even bigger. So I'm going to take this lettuce, and rather than taking outer leaves, I'm taking the whole thing. And that is a lovely looking little lettuce, that. And we've still got 2 more growing in there, and plenty more on the way. And because these leaves are getting quite big as well, this is the radish. We might as well take a few of these. We've still got plenty of plants in there, but we're getting ourselves a nice little salad mix here. And that's what doing this is all about. Cutting your own fresh salad leaves. Even that one that fell off, nothing wrong with it, we'll take that. And there's still plenty there to go at. But for today, that's enough. We've got another interesting little sowing video for you today. And it might be something that you've not grown yourself before. And it's called pak choi. And it's basically a Chinese cabbage. And they are quite suited for growing in cooler temperatures as well. So September is a perfect time to sow some for those late autumn and winter harvests. So we're going to sow some seeds today, and we're going to grow a few of these in containers. Because one of the advantages of growing pak choi is once it's grown, it grows into a compact upright plant with big stemmed leaves all around it. Now the leaves on these plants are actually quite tender, which makes it perfect for a cut and come again plant. And you might not think it with it being a cabbage, but if you cut a couple of inches just above the base of the plant, only taking the big leaves that it grows, or small ones if you want smaller leaves, and then you leave it where it is, those leaves grow back. And once they get to a good size again, and you cut them off the exact same way, they'll grow back again. So it's a perfect plant to be growing through autumn and winter inside this greenhouse with everything else, because we're doing lots of cut and come again plants. And to get some Chinese cabbage, I think it'd be a nice little treat. So that's what we're doing today. Now I'm going to sow some seeds in here. It's just your standard size, but it's got lots of holes in bottom, and it's a nice rigid one as well. And the reason I'm sowing them in a tray this size as opposed to little ones, once again, at this time of year we want things to grow as fast as possible, so we don't really want to cause any root growth restriction with lots of plants all being bunched together, because we want them to grow into quite decent sized plants, maybe 3 inches tall, before we take them out and then transfer them into a bigger container to grow on, ready for harvest. First things first, we'll get some compost in this tray. And it's not taking up a lot of compost, but we can grow quite a few plants in this area. And obviously we can also grow them bigger than we would in one of these type of tubs that we normally use, and prick them out and then move them on, so they can stay in here for longer to grow bigger. So I'm basically just going to make a nice level bed in this tray. It keeps your seeds all at the same level if you just level it out a little bit and slightly firm it down, and then give it a good water. Now we'll have a look at these seeds. So basically they're exactly the same as your normal brassica seeds. And if I bring camera in a little bit closer, you can see how many seeds I'm actually putting in this tray. So as you can see, exactly the same as brassica seeds, tiny little grey things. And all I'm going to do is randomly broadcast them over here. But at the same time, I'm trying not to overseed this tray. I don't want them next to each other as much as possible. But obviously if you do get two growing together and you want them, you can always pinch out the weaker seedling. And I think for now that'll do in there. And if you look at this picture, that's that pak choi. And we're talking about cutting it across there, just above the base of that plant. So you're not actually cutting the root, you're cutting a couple of inches up and taking all these big leaves. And then they'll grow back like what we're saying. But that gives you a better understanding of what I meant. And now we can use a trusty colander to very lightly bury those seeds. September onwards, it's all about speed. You need things to germinate and grow as fast as possible. So that's a very light covering on those seeds. That's all we need. And then we just need to lightly water them. Trying not to disturb that soil. And then we'll cover it with this cling film and create that propagator effect. Because doing it like this is cheaper than buying those plastic lids that you'd pop on. So that's why I always use it. And get a good seal on it. So that's your pak choi or Chinese cabbage all set up. And as we keep saying when we do this, that is going to retain moisture by covering it with cling film. But another thing about these trays, sometimes when you buy them, they can be quite flimsy. So if you move them, the soil cracks. And then what's going to happen is a lot of your seeds are going to fall right to the bottom of that tray where these cracks appeared as you were moving it. And if you do that, there's a pretty good chance that the seeds will rot before they manage to germinate and get out of that soil. But even if they don't, you're still going to be waiting a long time to see anything break that surface. So I've got some of these trays as well, and they're a little bit more rigid. So basically, as soon as I've sowed those seeds, I'll just drop it into this more rigid tray. And then when you move it around, you're not flexing and bending the tray with your composting. So your seeds will stay exactly where you put them. And of course, you can just water down the side of this tray, which when you're growing things that come out as really small seedlings, you need to be bottom watering, not top watering. Otherwise you'll flatten your plants and then they're no good. So all you need to do is get a jug, tip a little bit of water down the side of here, about an inch or so. Let it take that water up. You'll see the soil change colour as well. So you know it's had a good watering. Then you can just tip out the excess and wait till it starts to dry out a little bit again. And also, obviously, you can tell by the weight. And also remember, at this time of year, the temperature is slowly dropping. We are still above 60 in UK at the moment, but it's going to start and drop colder and colder. So when you're doing this sort of thing to grow outside in your greenhouse, even though they're cold weather plants, and they'll do fine if you offer them a little bit of extra protection like bubble wrap, still bear in mind that when you're actually trying to germinate seeds, if it gets colder and colder, they're going to take longer to germinate. So it might be an idea to just do this and then take them indoors until you see the seeds are germinating and breaking the surface of that compost. And obviously, as soon as you do see that happening, you need to take this cling film off. Otherwise you're going to have damp problems and fungus. This is another one pending for one of those containers. And obviously we are going to be doing more. This is still not it. We've got quite a few things growing at the moment, but the whole point of doing this container greenhouse is to get as much out of it as we possibly can through the coldest months at year. And if you're interested in seeing what else we put in this greenhouse over the next few weeks, please just hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell. and we'll see you at next video. Thank you very much for being part of this channel.